Hello, welcome back to my channel. So this is gonna be a quick update because I do feel some shifts and changes that I wanted to talk about. So what it feels like is that we have hit this energetic choice point a couple of days ago. And when that happens, it's like we are entering a period of time where we have the opportunity to choose the next cycle of our lives. So we'll get into the details of this choice points in a bit. But first, I kind of want to be clear with you here. When I say that we are choosing the next cycle of our lives, I have to be fair and say that most people do not really have a conscious choice at this point in time. You know, if we never meditate, never reflect, never go deeper into our feelings and our inner worlds, then of course we are just not someone that can choose our timeline, because at that stage we do not even tend to see, to feel, or to sense or know what we already are. It's like we don't know ourselves at all. And so as a result, it is the subconscious, our shadow, that makes the choices for us. When this happens, it's like we tend to replay the karma associated with either our bloodline, the nation that we live in, the culture we're a part of, or any subculture trend group that we may associate with. And in this state of living, it's almost like humans are not really individuals yet in an energetic sense. Rather, they are very much driven by the energies that exist in the collective. It's like we're driven, not driving, not choosing, not actively committing to a destiny. Rather, it will feel like things are suddenly happening to us and we do not understand why. So a lot of people are in this group, and it's important to remember that this does of course not take away from the value of these people. They still have all the potential to become these beautiful, divine creators living from their heart, working for the highest good of all, but they are not in that present. On an energetic level, you can see these people almost like children, not quite able to go off on their own because they still need. And again, this is so common. You probably see this within yourself as well. It's very much a part of the awakening, you know, being this or realizing that we are this child still inside, because we still have a lot of unfulfilled needs within us that we have not been able to tend to for different reasons. And so it is these unfulfilled needs that tend to be preventing us from stepping into our power in this stage of our awakening. So, like I said, this is common. We all go through this at different points in time. So it's not something that I want to judge, but it's also not something that I think it will benefit us to overlook anymore. So as we are coming up to this choice point, it is really only the people that have been able to build up their inner light and start to feed their inner child so that it's becoming more and more fulfilled that are able to consciously choose their unique timeline. And so that is the reason that I'm making this video. Number one, channeling these timelines helps me to sort out and understand more of my own life. And number two, sharing it with you may ignite some awareness for you as well, which means that we will all awaken more on a collective level. So let's get into what I'm seeing happening here. I'm going to be sharing this with you in the way that you may see it if you are tuned into the Astral. So just quickly, for those of you that are not quite aware of this world yet, the Astral is kind of like a dream world that we can access through our imagination. Being in darkness, closing your eyes, and even putting something on top of your eyes to make it really, really dark can help you tap into the astral more easily. And in the astral, you will see the energetic reflection of the real world. It's kind of like a mirror image of the real world, but we can see the shadow to what we see in the real world. So we see what people in the real world are running from, what they are ignoring, not wanting to see. And all of this comes through in a very symbolic way. It's not literal. All movies, fairy tales, art, things like that, they are being channeled from the astral, and most people are not necessarily that conscious that they are doing this. Personally, I've always been very connected to the astral as a child. I used to see all kinds of weird astral beings, but it wasn't until I started my awakening like 7-8 years ago that I eventually received the vocabulary to talk about this, hidden shadow world that no one else seemed to understand. And I do think that this is the case for a lot of people. We are all connected to this shadow world, but it may be very subconscious, something that we only visit in our dreams, for instance. So what I'm seeing happening in the astral right now is that the energy of the gray is leaving the earth. So what does this mean exactly? The gray is kind of like a group of energies that have been played out a lot here on earth. Every energy that we play out comes through as specific feelings, specific thoughts or narratives in our mind, specific beliefs, meaning that if you choose to believe in something, a timeline, you will also be filled with the feelings or the vibrations of this timeline, and also the words, the lines, if you will, that belongs to the roles of this timeline. And so this is also how you can read energy in a collective sense. If people are tuned into a specific timeline, you may find that you already know the exact beliefs that they have, the exact words that they are going to be using, the vibes that surrounds them, and also the types of dynamics or interactions that they are likely to have with different types of people. So it can be easy to read energy if you have learned about the collective flow, because most people are not yet unique. Most people are not creating their own timeline. It's like they're nothing special yet. Rather, they're kind of channeling timelines that already exist, reliving old lives. But this is what is starting to change right now, as Pluto is moving back and forth over the last degrees of Capricorn and into Aquarius several times over the next couple of years. We are being pushed by the universe to start to create more unique lives. It's like humanity is growing up. So that was just a little backstory again, just to kind of put it in perspective. But let's now go back to the energy of the gray, the energy that is starting to leave right now. The gray is actually a type of energy that I would call a teacher energy. The school system is very much built up of the energy of the grays. This energy is all about looking back in time to project that past time into the future. And so this way of thinking, this way of operating is what creates linear time. And so in a sense, the gray is always recreating the old, and that is also why it presents itself as gray in the astral. Like I said, everything in the astral is symbolic, and the energy of the gray is outdated. It is not fresh, not present, not heart-centered. It is very cerebral, very clever, yet quite boring, quite bland, not juicy, not really alive, not really growing in a natural way. Rather, it's very, very controlling. It's kind of the gray lines that divides all of the colors and keep the colors separate and in, the quote-unquote right order. You can also imagine a classroom. You cannot have all of these children being in their full creative power if there is only one single person teaching 25 kids. You have to somehow stunt their creativity, their potential for growth, to control them and also protect them, because as only one person, you do not have the ability to be present and to mirror all of these children at once. And as we have been living through an age with so many children on a spiritual level, so many people that are not able to fulfill their own needs, nor the needs of their actual children, the grays have been very important. It has balanced out our collectives in a major way. And so the school system, the energy of the gray has been beneficial. It has allowed more people, more souls to have a chance, a level up, than if we did not have it. The energy of the gray is also very much a part of bureaucracy, social security systems, collective safety nets. It's like we choose to give up on our creativity, to give away some of our gifts, some of our presents, which is kind of like some of our time. We give away our time to get material security for more people. The gray is what creates union, actually, between the black and white. It's a bridge between the black and the white during times when the green heart and the rainbow ray is yet to be awoken within humanity. So you may recognize that the energy of the gray is very common in Europe, maybe a bit less common in the States. It also seems to be degrading faster over there, because it seems like duality, black and white thinking, is still so strong within a lot of people. But because it has been so common in Europe, it has kind of spread throughout the world as well. It spread with the Europeans, you can say. The energy of the gray is oftentimes also quite strong in places where there is a lot of tradition and religion. That is very much that type of energy of the gray, like I said, looking back to inform what we should do in the future, is very much that energy of linear time. But it's also something else that is quite interesting about the gray, and that is that if you are tuned into the astral, you would probably also describe the gray as an alien species. This is oftentimes how many people see that type of energy in the astral. They tend to look like aliens. And again, this is symbolic. When something is alien, it means that it's not from Earth. It did not grow from Earth organically. Its foundation, it's not Earth. Its feet are not on the ground. And so the Earth is not actually supporting it energetically. It does not lead to natural growth anymore. This means that that energy is not able to actually exist within the window of life that the Earth provides without being a parasite, without suckling on an energy force that is actually supported by the Earth. And so if you're tuned into the astral, you know that this kind of parasitic way of getting energy is very, very common today. There are a lot of energies that are, in a sense, only able to be here to play themselves out because they are parasitic. This is that energy vampire that we can feel in a lot of people. And so again, most people do not know what they are channeling. They don't know kind of the energetic imprints that they are playing out, because they don't go deeper. They don't reflect. They just tend to spin in the same patterns, without really questioning those patterns, those feelings, those thoughts. And so to get back to the gray again, the teacher archetype, they have of course been suckling the energy from the child. Like I said in the beginning, most people are kind of stuck in this child state, and there is a reason for that. And part of that, for some people, not for all, but for some people, is that the gray have been stealing and controlling their energy. These are people that are quite bright on their own. Like, these are people that they have reached a point in their development where they are quite intuitive, and so they would be able to find their own way. They don't really need other people at this point in time. If this resonates for you, you may go through a time right now where you're actually starting to liberate yourself a lot from this energy of the gray. And you're starting to feel more free, I think, if you are this type of person. But for a lot of people, that is also not the case. It's kind of like they are living in this codependent parasitic relationship with the gray, and they don't necessarily want to lose that relationship because it again, the grays are tending to their needs that they don't want to tend to themselves for some reason. And so it's kind of giving them something, even though it's also taking their creativity and kind of like their life force away a little bit, making them also a bit more less wild, let's just say. But if you look at it from the perspective of people that are channeling the gray, it's that their control regime, if you can call it that, is not at all malicious. Like, if you as an individual are channeling the energy of the gray, you would not be coming from a place of knowing that you're essentially keeping people stuck. You would actually be coming from a place of trying to save them, trying to help them. Those are the feelings that drives the people that channel a lot of gray. They are actually afraid. They are afraid of the falling, afraid of the time when we start to be pulled back to earth again. Because the energy of the gray that the people are channeling will not be able to exist anymore as humanity get closer to the earth. The only way to create union at that stage will be through the heart. And opening the heart and creating union is not really something that you can enforce, teach, inject. It has to be chosen by each individual. And so that freaks the gray out because it means loss of top-down control. The spiritual children having to choose for themselves, and that may mean that not all will make it. And so when we channel gray, we feel as if time is running out. But the truth is that we feel like this because the timeline of the gray is reaching the end. And so if we as humans are channeling this timeline, we will feel more and more desperation as this spiritual death approaches, unless we become aware of it and consciously choose to step down and let go of that teacher role. You may actually also see that some people that are channeling these gray timelines may even start to darken more now and in the coming months. If we're channeling the gray and do not become aware of ourselves as this timeline of, the gray teacher starts leaving the matrix, we are likely going to drop down in vibration and start becoming more desperate and jaded in a sense. If this happens to people, you will see them darkening. You will see them becoming more aggressive, especially passive aggressive. They may start saying things like it does not matter anyway, that we're all lost, that we are, especially certain groups of people that they are trying to teach the most or that they are trying to protect the most, that these people are doomed and that they deserve what is coming for them, things like that. So I would say just pay attention to this timeline within yourself, within others. If you're, for instance, trying to teach people something, but they are not really receiving it, and you start to feel yourself getting kind of angry and maybe even low-key starting to wish for the downfall of these people that you're trying to teach, then that is a sign that it's time to take a step back and kind of regroup, because then you're starting to channel the timeline that is actually going to lead to you spiraling down energetically. And if you're aware, if you are a light in the astral, then it's not necessary to spiral down unconsciously at this point in time. You do not have to destroy your ego to learn. You can also choose to listen, to soften. You can choose to step down consciously, with mastery, with grace, get closer to the earth by your own will. And if you do it this way, it's going to strengthen you, your spirit, your power, instead of draining you from your spirit and your power. Actually, there are a lot of other timelines that we can choose to channel right now. There is actually a lot of diversity of destinies, if you will, that are coming in. A lot of fun things, new timelines coming into the earth. But the thing is that many of them seem to require us to be very deeply connected to the inner child and to the earth for us to be able to channel them. And that may require us, like I've spoken about, to step down. We cannot be kind of flying around anymore in our own heads or in the real world, traveling here and there just to make ourselves feel better. It's time to become grounded, still, deal with what is in each present moment. It's like we have to go back to the root and learn how to master it. And for some of us, this means going back to internally kind of relive childhood trauma, old family dynamics, dynamics that deals with the country that we live in or the culture we're a part of, that kind of thing. And so stepping down is not always the most exciting thing to do. It actually challenges us to our core, to our innermost being. But that is also what grants us access to this deep portal where a lot of these new timelines seem to be coming through. So I would say, instead of only trying to teach others, instead of trying to kind of teach the children outside of us, we may want to start to work more consciously with our own inner child. Kind of you seeing yourself as the teacher and the child. You being the teacher for yourself as well, not looking for people outside of you to kind of teach you one-on-one. A lot of the times you will actually see that the gray exist because they have cut themselves off from their own inner child. That is why this energy has this deep desire to help others. It is actually their inner child screaming for their attention. But because they are so afraid of being small again, their minds misinterpret that calling and they become this wounded healer. And so again, super common, right? But it means that the people that channel a lot of gray tend to not want to step down, actually. They don't want to go back to their root. They also tend to maybe have issues with their family, with their caregivers that they have not been able to kind of forgive, to resolve, to bring peace to. Also, people that channel a lot of gray may end up not having children on their own, feeling like they do not have time for children, for instance, or maybe even aging quicker than usual in some cases. Or we may even know that, that we want to adopt. when we are channeling a lot of gray. It is this inner image duplicating itself of us always abandoning our inner child so that we can take care of other children that are not ours. And so, of course, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. This is not a judgment. It is what it is. But it seems to me that this is part of why the gray becomes gray and outdated, because that energy subconsciously cuts itself off from its own inner child and those needs to take care of the needs of the world and carry that on its back. So if you recognize yourself in this and you're thinking, I have been doing this, then this is your chance now to consider if you want to start to take care of your own inner child instead of feeling that you need to take care of external children and other people's needs above your own. From what I can see, taking care of your own inner child is going to connect you more to these new, fresh timelines that are coming in. And although I do not know if this is true or not, because I've not yet lived it, the messages that I'm getting is that channeling these new timelines are going to rejuvenate our bodies. It's going to rejuvenate our minds. We're going to feel and look and kind of become younger, healthier, more in tune with and more protected by the earth. And the thing with these new timelines is that they are not going to be linear in the way that we're used to. Meaning that just because you are 62 years of age based on linear time, you may not look, feel, or actually be like any other 62-year-old. Everybody that is 62 is not actually holding the exact same age. And this type of thinking, this circularity of time is what we're going to learn more about, I feel, with these new timelines. You may learn how to go through several cycles of rejuvenation if you listen more to this presence, your inner child, your senses, the calling of your cells, the flow of evolution. Another aspect to these new timelines is that if you chose to step down from these old timelines of essentially, teacher, child, and integrate both of these energies into yourself so that you're able to become both the teacher and the child, then you are overcoming duality. You're opening your heart, and through that, it's like you will become more green in an energetic sense. And so remember that everything is symbolic. And so when we open our heart, it kind of turns from gray to green, and we start to flow instead of being stuck in control. The messages that I'm receiving have also stated that the people that are based on the green, based on union, flow, growth coming from the earth, they are also going to be the holders of the new economy. So I do not exactly see how this is going to be playing itself out yet, what this actually means. But just in general, based on the guidance that I've been receiving, I feel much, much better about these timelines where we are choosing to step down consciously rather than the timelines where you fall down based on events that are out of your reach. So I hope this was interesting. I hope you are doing well. Thank you so much for listening. Take care.